In a broadleaf forest of southern Taiwan, every creature is mutually and intimately dependent on one another in an intricate integration of life. Initiated by photosynthesis of green plants, the phenomenon of life is propelled by sundry living creatures, and this has been the natural process ever since the beginning of life. It is a dynamic process, and often whimsical too. Breakthroughs, whether by chance or some uncertainty, may occur during the course of life. But fundamentally, all life must comply with the uncompromising law of nature. This is, only through competition and adaptation can life forms survive, reproduce, and evolve. The law prevails, determining a species' evolution. Here at Sanping, every March one hears the calls of male orioles, clear and drawn out, resounding from one valley to the next. And thereupon we realize that the oriole, one of Taiwan's most resplendent birds, has embarked on its annual quest to reproduce. Its reproductive success hinges on this one critical activity. The adult oriole seems to face no natural enemy, though their eggs and young are confronted with the danger of predatory snakes, squirrels, jungle crows, and the like. If any disturbance arises during the course of reproduction, the oriole parents forsake their nest, thus hampering the propagation of the entire oriole population. The oriole is currently on the endangered list, so its production is of high concern. During non-reproduction seasons in autumn and winter, flocks of orioles often appear in the company of other bird species. These include the bronzed drongo, yellow-throated minivet, Taiwan cibia, Himalayan tree pie, Muller's barbet, gray-headed pygmy woodpecker, black bulbul, once again, spring arrives. Beginning from March, the unmistakable male oriole's call reverberates in the woods continuously throughout the entire day. He is about to initiate a monogamous relationship with his chosen mate. Other bird species are also busy constructing nests. A snag is fancied by this Muller's barbet. Something useless to humans may in fact be an incomparable treasure for birds. For unknown reasons, this snag, abandoned by a Muller's barbet, has now caught the eye of another, a gray-head pygmy woodpecker. A male oriole rests on top of a leafless, tall, seemingly dead tree, chirping and grooming. Clearly, his brilliant colors and mating calls have one purpose: attracting female orioles. This female turns her head this way and that, her beak wide open. The oriole is a subspecies endemic to Taiwan. It belongs to the order Passiformis and the genus Oriolus. With its resplendent feathers, the oriole astonished Swin Ho, a 19th century British ornithologist, and many others as well who had the chance to get a glimpse of it. Orioles possess simple and bright feathers. The male resembles a red-vested blackbird. The Taiwanese saying goes, "Crimson is beautiful while black is noble." This portrays orioles so aptly as it refers to orioles specifically. The female is the less dazzling of the two sexes. It has a more piebald chest, but otherwise is similar to a male. Other subspecies of the oriole can also be found in mainland China, the Indochina Peninsula, and the Himalayas. In Taiwan, orioles are dispersed throughout regions below 1,500 meters in elevation, where plantations and natural broadleaf forests converge. Broad and open areas, such as river valleys, are their most favorite locations. Their distribution on the island of Taiwan is discontinuous and sporadic. In general, populations in the east outnumber those in the west, and the numbers in the south are greater than those in the north. Sanping is situated in southern Taiwan, and flocks of orioles are often seen there. Orioles are rare in Taiwan. Solitary by nature and sensitive to any disturbance, it usually nests in higher places or thicker woods. All nests are built in canopies about 10 meters off the ground. In this tree grove, the oriole displays a penchant for certain tree species, such as the fountain tree, Ceylon olive, and Moluccas albizia. Nest construction is the most crucial factor that determines the overall success of oriole reproduction. During reproductive seasons, it is common for both males and females to abandon a nest. There are signs that orioles occupy this fountain tree and the Ceylon olive during the spring and summer. Unfortunately, at the time, construction was taking place in the vicinity. This forced the orioles to abandon their nests twice. In the spring of 1995, this pair of mutually attracted orioles started to build a nest together at Sanping. During the reproductive season, the female is responsible for nest construction and egg incubation. The male offers no help to the female in this regard, but keeps vigilance. He perches on boughs of equal height to the nest, faces it, and delivers a series of calls. The female busily rushes in and out of the nest, each time with some twigs for construction. The nest is carefully ensconced on branches of equal height. The nest opens upward and is sealed by leaf shades. The nest is constructed from dried vines, lithe yellow-brown twigs, white cotton-like materials, pine needles, and lichens. On the outside, the nest reaches a height of 10 centimeters, and its inside is 5 centimeters deep. The outer diameter of the opening is 12 centimeters, and the inner diameter is 10. The bottom is 8 centimeters on the outside and 6 on the inside. The size is equal to that of a small soup bowl. The nest construction is close to completion now. The female parent often returns with fallen leaves of various sizes to carpet the interior of the nest. The last step of construction involves swathing the nest with fine fibers. In the nest, she will also attempt to fashion a bowl-shaped space by sitting, turning, and tossing about. The male stands with watchful eyes at the side of the nest. When necessary, it will charge head first to ward off any predators. The female also participates in the defense. Predators that are chased off include crested serpent eagles, crested goshawks, black bulbuls, Himalayan tree pies, and squirrels. It takes approximately 10 days to build a nest. After all is done, the male stands guard while his mate remains in the nest, and even when she is out. If the female is away from the nest too long, the male will call for her return. This time, the female has been away for 18 minutes. The male is calling for her. And sure enough, she returns in no time. During the process of nest construction, the pair mates a number of times. The male flies onto a bough adjacent to the nest and calls incessantly. The female joins him. The male approaches her and they extend their wings. He lands on her back. She then raises her tail, and concurrently he dips his tail 2 or 3 times. The whole process takes 2 or 3 seconds. After mating is accomplished, both fly away from the nest. In several days at the end of April, the female spends much longer time in the nest. This may be an indication that she has started to incubate. During the incubation phase, she spends a large amount of time nesting. On average, 9 hours per day are spent in the nest. When darkness arrives, incubation will continue until dawn. Incubation time is prolonged on cloudy or rainy days, sometimes reaching a high of 11 hours in one day. When the female is absent, the male keeps alert in the proximity of the nest. If the female has been gone too long, he will call for her. His unstinting calls will grow more and more urgent, but the calling will terminate abruptly once she has returned. The female will hop to a specific spot near the nest and wait a while before entering. When she leaves, she will often first dive in a certain path, then fly in other directions. In approximately 20 days, the first young will break out of the egg. Now, the female releases a unique call. Three other youngsters crack the eggs. Surprisingly, the female has laid 4 eggs. This is an unusual case, for a typical hatch comprises 3 eggs, and sometimes even only 2. Shortly after the chicks hatch, the male brings home food for the female. This feeding behavior is most intensive during the first few days. The female will continue to roost after the hatch, but the span shortens with time. The oriole is an omnivore with a preference for worms and fruits. When feeding on insects, sometimes the oriole will shake the victim more than 10 times before swallowing it. But fruits are often gulped down almost instantaneously. In the rearing phase, parents mainly provide a carnivorous diet. There seem to be various phases in the oriole's feeding habits. During the first week, the parents will scrupulously feed the young with regurgitated pellets. Because the chicks are so small, the parents very carefully tear up the pellets before feeding them to the youngsters. During the second week, the main diet is Lepidoptera nymphs, and in the third week, Lepidoptera adults and spiders are provided. Other food items include katydids, crickets, cicadas, beetles, and terrestrial snails. This time, the parent has caught a spider. The parent rubs the thread of the web off the spider before feeding it to its young. A biology professor at Zhongshan University, Xue Wenzhang, observed in his 1997 research that after acquiring the ability to leave the nest, the young will mainly be fed fruits. Perhaps for sanitary reasons or to eliminate odor in the nest, each time after feeding has finished, the parents will consume the young species. The behavior is more prominent in female parents than in male ones. After 3 weeks of rearing, the young ones are ready to try flying. At the time of their virgin flight, their feathers are inchoate. They seem vulnerable and pitiful. Their deep azure eyes are embedded in faces that are also bare. Below their chests are scanty feathers, resembling unkempt and baggy sweaters. Immediately after leaving the nest, the young demonstrate such behavior as grooming, stretching, and scratching. The male parent will encourage the fledgling's flight by using food as incentives, and the female parent will also participate in the instruction. The young follow their parents around in nearby woods. They hop from tree to tree and learn foraging and flight skills while the parents feed them. After completing their instruction, they gradually acquire skills necessary to avoid the threat of predators. Thereafter, they're on their own. This has been a rare case of successful reproduction. A month after hatching, the young and the female parent become indistinguishable in terms of size and color. These are the young chicks from another nest. They have been nurtured for a month now. The day of their virgin flight is just around the corner, and the hardship their parents have endured will soon end. The female parent is out, but for some reason the male parent is not on guard next to the nest. Not far away from the nest is a jungle crow who is anticipating a foraging opportunity. It plummets and wrests away a young oriole. Such is the price of parental negligence. The plundering is made so effortlessly, and the unwitting oriole parents still have not yet returned. Then, for the second and third time, the jungle crow snatches away the young, one by one. This sudden mishap destroys the family and brings the oriole pair's reproductive activity to a mortifying end. This incident seems to confirm the general observation that the oriole's rate of successful reproduction has been rather low. For instance, in 1997, a researcher observed 8 oriole nests in southeast Taiwan, and of the 8, only one was viable. After the loss of their young, the Oriole pair will perhaps persist and immediately begin to build a new nest. They will mate, lay eggs, and work for a second round of reproduction procedures within the same season. But their new nest may suffer another failure, for haste and cursory attention can undermine it. The jungle crow's devouring of the Oriole young was merely an ecological episode in the woods. It is no different from a caterpillar nibble of leaves or a bird's peck of caterpillars. This is the quirk of nature. Be it successful or abortive, the peak of this year's reproduction season has mostly passed. When next spring arrives, though numerous incalculable uncertainties will continue to loom, in this broadleaf forest of southern Taiwan, the Orioles shall again embark upon another reproductive quest.